What is up, you guys? I'm Nick Moore of Gravity Images, and I'm here to show you a little trick that I've been using in my short form content here lately. I posted a video last week of Bernie Vasquez flying the P-47 Bonnie at Oshkosh. I threw it up on Instagram Reels and it kind of went nuts. I got a lot of comments about how great of a job I did at tracking the video. Spoiler alert, I didn't do that great. Truth be told, I was about 2,000 feet away, up high in the air on the air traffic control tower. It was windy, and I'm not very good at tracking with a tripod. So I just said, you know what? Let's try and see if we can't do this handheld. The raw footage I got looks something like this. So how did we go from this to this? Let's get into it. In order to get this digital tracking effect like you see here, I use a program called DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is a very powerful tool, but the best part about it is it's free. They do have a $300 paid version, but for what you're doing here, it's not needed at all. DaVinci Resolve is not a sponsor, but I just happen to really like the software and I really like the price. Before we get into the software too much, I really want to quickly talk about the video capture. I shot this on my Nikon Z9 with a Nikon 100-400Z and a 1.4 teleconverter. The Z9 gives you the ability to shoot 120 frames a second at 4K. I took advantage of this because I knew that I wanted this to be a slow motion video, so I went ahead and shot it at 120 frames a second, slowed it down to 24 frames a second, and stabilized like what you see here. When you shoot 120 frames a second, you double your frame rate to come up with your shutter speed, so I wound up with a shutter speed of 1/250. The nice thing about shooting at 1/250 is that you do wind up with very little motion blur, which works out really well in these slow motion videos. The biggest key, in my opinion, to post-stabilization is that you leave plenty of room around the subject to breathe. This is going to make a lot more sense once we get into the process. With all that said, let's open DaVinci Resolve. I'll be using version 18.5 for this demo. Going to start a new project. Pull this digital tracking sample. So DaVinci Resolve looks like any other linear editor. You've got the timeline down the bottom, you'll have preview up here, and then you can put clips in the media pool over here. First thing we want to do is just make sure that our project is set up how we want it. So you go File, Project Settings. Just a couple things that I change here, since this is going to be for short form content for Instagram, Reel, Short, TikTok, whatever we want to do. They keep it very simple. I'm going to set it to 1920 by 1080 HD and then check the Use Vertical Resolution. So the first thing I want to do with our edit, we need to add clips to the media pool. So it starts you off in the cut page. I prefer to edit in the edit page, which is the third tab from the left. I'm going to click there. I'm going to go find my file and I'm going to drag it into the media pool. It's asking if I want to change the project frame rate. I do not want to because the project frame rate is set to 24 frames a second. And what this is asking me to do is match the 120 frames a second that my footage was shot at. I do not want to do that. So I'm going to hit Don't Change. It'll bring the footage into here. You can swipe across it and see what the footage looks like. But the very first thing I'm going to do is click on this. I'm going to drag it down to my timeline. Right click on the video portion of it. I'm going to go Retime Controls. I'm going to right click one more time and go Retime Curve. What this does, this gives me the ability to vary the speed if I wanted to speed ramp or something like that. In this case, I want it to be simple, but I do know that I want an even number of 20%. And if I go and do change speed, it does not give me the option that I want for 20%. The reason for 20%, if you divide 24 frames divided by 120 frames, you're going to wind up with 20%. So all I have to do is grab this red line, and I'm going to drag it down until I see 20%. There. So now the footage that's played went from 120 frames a second, slowed down 20% to 24 frames a second. And I have every intention of putting music over the top of this. So I am going to delete the audio first thing. So how you do that, you right click on your audio track, click Link Clips, click out of it, click back into it, and then if you hit backspace, the audio will delete, and then you're just left with the footage above. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do, I want to trim this video down to roughly 15 seconds. So I want to go find the most interesting 15 seconds that I have here. You can zoom out on your timeline a little bit so you can get a better feel for where the frames look like something's happening that you might want to watch. So I like coming out of this turn right about here. If you hit the B key or hit this blade tool right here, you can now cut your footage. And if you already have your scrubber where you want it, you can just click right there and it will cut that footage right to where you see it. If you hit the select tool or A on the keyboard, now I can pick this piece of footage, then I'm going to hit the delete on the keyboard, which will actually ripple delete and move all the footage back to the beginning. So now we've got a good endpoint, and I want to scrub over and see where 15 seconds is. I like this enough. I want to make it longer than 15 seconds. I'm going to trim over to, I'm going to make it about 30 seconds. Just a shade under, seems to work well for short form content. So at that point, there's multiple things. You can do that blade tool that I just showed you, or you can just grab the edge of it. And as long as this magnet is selected here, this will trim right over to the red line where you had it. So now we have roughly a 30-second clip. Doesn't look too bad, but it's not tracked very well at all. As you can see, there's enough barely to stay in the frame, but that's about all we get. So as it moves back and forth, we want to do something better than that. So I'm going to hit spacebar and stop my footage. Could have hit the stop button as well. And I am going to go into the Fusion page, which is the next tab over. And the first thing that I want to hit when I'm here is Control spacebar. And I'm looking for the planar tracker. I'm going to hit add. And what that did is it added a node. DaVinci Resolve does not work in layers. It actually works in these nodes, which basically you've got your raw media in, you've got your node that's doing something, and then the output from there. It can get very complicated, but you can do some really neat effects with all this, but we're not going to get into that at all today. The only thing we've got going is I want my media in, I'm going to track the media, and then I'm going to spit out something that looks better than it did before. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to go to the beginning of our clip, which is right back here where that yellow line is. Now it turns red. So the first thing that I want to do, we're set to track over here in the inspector. And it's set to track a point. And then the motion type. This is the one thing that needs to get changed. I want to change it to just translation. So if you have any of these other options selected, it's going to try to rotate. It's going to try to skew the footage. I don't want that. I just want it to look like it tracked in the frame better. So I'm going to hit translation. And then I have the opportunity to go in and draw a box around my subject. So you just go click, click, click. You want to be relatively close with what you're doing, but you also don't want to be too close because every frame you're going to have to adjust this. So once I've got that picked, you have to have your track point inside your in frame. So 1841. So now I'm going to go hit set, and these two should match. So now I'm going to track forward, and it's going to track to the end of the clip as much as it can. So where you see dots means it's a frame with a lot of sharpness, and where you see lines means something that got a little bit soft and there was a lot of camera shake or movement going on. So even though the box that I drew around isn't perfect, it's still picking up the points inside the plane and tracking them fairly well. But I know that the plane's going in for this banana pass, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit stop. And then I'm going to readjust my shape. So what you can do, you can grab the points you've already created and move them. You just click and drag. Or if you really want to, you can add more points as well. You just click on a line and then it creates a vertex there. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep tracking. I usually keep my mouse on the stop button just in case I need to stop. I'm going to stop it again real quick, and I'm going to pick up some more of the wings here. Track again. The objects that you see dots in red are where it's picking up the background, and it does a good enough job of recognizing your subject that it leaves those behind in most cases. So as you can see, we're almost to the end of our clip. Rolling out wings level, we're still tracking just fine, and now we're at the end. Okay, so here's the fun part. We were in tracking mode. If we hit this pull down and go to steady, what it's going to do is it's going to take and move the frame around, whatever it has to do to keep the subject at the center of the frame. So now if I go back to the beginning and I hit play, you're going to see the frame pull in from the side, If I start jiggling from the top to the bottom, you'll see it come in from the bottom or up from the top. But you can see what's happening here. The frame's moving. It does whatever it has to do to keep that subject in the center of the frame. So I'm gonna hit stop there, and now I wanna go back to my edit page. So we can watch it in the edit page. Again, the subject's gonna stay in the center of the frame, but you're gonna start seeing these black bars. I'll slide this down a little bit so you can see better. But you'll see the black bars come up, and then they'll come in from the top. That's why I say if you do a really good job of tracking, then you won't have to worry about that as much. But since I did this handheld, you can clearly see that things come in from the top. But the good news is I mentioned leaving enough room to breathe, that we can actually zoom in on the subject enough that we can get those to go away for this clip. All right, so we played that through. Here's where we go and zoom in and make sure that everything is how it needs to be. For this particular clip, I want to go to about the worst case scenario. I'm going to scrub through and I will see where I know right about there. I can see that this frame has come in a long ways. So over here in the inspector tab, the very first thing that I want to do, I'm going to click this diamond, which is going to activate all of my key points. But all I want to do, I'm going to click over this zoom function right here and I'm going to slide it to the right. I'm going to slide it just enough that it zooms in. If I zoom it in just enough right there, the black bar disappeared. And then I want to grab my position in the X and I'm going to slide it to the right just a little bit, which gets the plane right in the frame. I'll zoom back out just a tiny bit. Give me a little bit of extra room to breathe here and we'll see how we do. So that looks pretty good there. So I'm going to start it back over from the beginning and all I'm doing is watching for black bars to come in from the top or bottom. All right, I'm happy with that. Sometimes you may have to go in and adjust your zoom just a little bit in a certain area to make up for that. And if it's subtle enough, you can't even tell that it happened. So we could just stop right there. That's how you stabilize a clip like this. Again, you want to leave plenty of room when you're shooting this because you will likely need to zoom in some. You want to be able to cut down from the top and the bottom and not have any black bars show up. I'm going to go ahead and show you the rest of my process real quick. We won't go into it too much, but at least so you can see what it looks like to get this ready to export. So as you can probably tell by looking at this, it's pretty flat. There's not a whole lot of contrast. It doesn't look that great. So what I want to do, I'm going to go into the color page. And the very first thing is go to the color wheels. Basically, the best way I can describe this is your darks, your mids, and your lights. And you can adjust all of the color, but all I really want to do at this point is I want to grab this wheel down here and I want to bring my darks down. So basically I have a histogram over here in a waveform style, and I want to bring my darks down to where the bottom over here touches pretty close to 0. Pretty happy with that. And then I want to take my gain, which is going to be my highlights, and I want to bring them back up so that the top of them almost touch the top line. Then from that point, the gamma is in the middle. I'll do that kind of to my liking. I feel like I could brighten it just a little bit, but you can see what's happening with the scopes on the side, but I really like having it just what's pleasing to my eye. Oftentimes when you lift the gamma, it brings the bottom darks up a little bit, so you'll need to stretch them back down. But here we're left with a pretty nice exposure. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to hit Shift S. That's going to create another node. From that point is where I want to do my white balance. So I'm going to pick my little eyedropper here. I'm going to find something that's white. The star right there looks pretty good. I'll just pick on that. So it looks like my camera actually did a pretty decent job of white balance. I'm going to hit Shift S again. I'm going to go over here to the sharpen and blur page. Sharpen is this triangle in the middle, and something that works out well for me for Instagram posts. I'm going to bring my radius down to about 46 or 47. I'm going to bring my scaling up to 32. And that really just did a little bit of fine sharpening on the image. And the last thing that you can do if you want is more of a creative choice, but I have all of these lookup tables, also known as LUTs, that give you more of a style perspective. So if you want something to look a little dark and dingy, you can do that. It's a little bit different look, but I appreciate a lot of these. I like the way that these vintage look, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that. So now we have a finished image. So we've gone through the cut, we've gone through the stabilization, we've gone through the color grading, And now for final export. So the final export in DaVinci Resolve is this little deliver page, which looks like the little rocket. So you can pick on that. I'm going to call this P-47 flyby, and I'm just going to put it on my desktop and hit save. And then from that point, you can go change all of your settings as you need, but they should pretty well match what was set in the project. So again, 24 frames a second, 1080 by 1920, and I want the vertical resolution. I'm going to click add to my render queue, and then I'm going to click render all. Doesn't take too terribly long, granted we only have a 30-second clip. All right, well, that took way longer than expected, but we're finally done now. So let's see how we did. All right, I'm pretty pleased with it. Now to just find some music to make the rest of the internet mad, and we should be set. So that's all there is to it. This method will not rescue every shot you've ever taken, but if you have a shot with very little motion blur and the subject isn't dancing around the frame, it's going to do quite nice. If you do a halfway decent job of tracking in both the X and Y axis, I think you're going to be very happy with the results. If you have any questions about what you've seen here, please leave a comment. I'm happy to answer any question, and I'm also willing to take any constructive criticism, as I only know DaVinci Resolve for what I need to know it for, and I've got a lot of learning left to do. If you like what you see here and would like to see some more, please do what all the YouTubers say and smash those like and subscribe buttons. I really appreciate it. Until next time, remember, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. See ya.